Welcome into the Legislative Lounge. We are your hosts, Natebige and Professor Mike. We want to welcome you guys into the special inauguration episode of the 47th President, Donald John Trump.
Welcome in, welcome in. You thought we weren't going to host one today, but we fooled you. And we got a very special guest coming on with us shortly. American Lumberjack, welcome in.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic, my friend. I'm so happy that everybody got home safe after the festivities.
Most definitely.
Big congratulations to Mike and Megan. They are now newlyweds. Woo! So,
Yes,
taking a look into today, big day. Obviously, it's a historic day, honestly, because no president has ever been reelected after being removed from office through election, or thereof, as we'll just say it because now we can move past 2020 at this point, right, guys? All right. So, but it
we
is still
can,
historic.
but nobody else can apparently. If you notice all the Senate confirmations.
Oh, I know, right? That's a whole topic that we'll definitely get into because I know that quite a few of them have actually went into play already. I know, Pete Hegseth led the charge in regards to the first hearing, and we talked about that a little bit on the last episode. And they're just out here trying to grill these people on topics that have nothing to do with, what their job is. They're trying to dive into their qualifications and one for in particular, there was a Senate from now his name's slipping my mind, but he basically went after the Democrats because it's like you're sitting here trying to attack. At that time, it was Miss Bondi for the Attorney General, and we were trying to figure out. They were trying to just grill her about her qualifications and all this other stuff, and he's just like looks at him and like, first of all, what is your qualifications to be in your spot? And I'm like, yes.
I believe that was Senator Halloran from um, Vermont. No,
That sounds
Nebraska.
about that's yeah, the name sounded correct, yeah. But I mean, it's finally that I'm loving the fact that these newer members of Congress, see, I believe he's a newer, he's only been there like 2 or 3 terms, if that, are really stepping up and calling them out about all this nonsense that they're going after. Because another person also called out, when they were going through Pete Hegseth's confirmation about how they're asking him nonsensical hypotheticals that, if this happened, it's like, why are we doing that?
It was the cheapest one.
It doesn't make any sense to us on why you're going after a man about something that Donald Trump may or may not do, or in regards to that. So I'm not sure why we're asking these questions. Lumberjack,
Yeah,
what was your? I mean, I don't know if you've been following the.
I have. What the only thing that really set me over the edge is why you're asking this man about his private life, his sex life. What does that have to do with anything? And when they brought that up, and I was going to make a video about it, I still may. For the past 21 years, the federal government has taken out $17 million in taxpayer money to pay off their side pieces. Why are you worried about what this man did in his earlier life? Nobody asked you that when you were, being voted on to or voted for to become senator or congressman or House representative. So why are we doing this to this man?
exactly. And the qualifications talk. Pete, he has military experience. Like, if you're going to be a Secretary of Defense, I think one of the qualifications should be a military background. And I don't believe any of the senators that were questioning him had any military experience, especially Miss Pocahontas Elizabeth Warren. So,
But the nice thing is with even though the fact that they're getting grilled, I mean, I'm absolutely loving how each one of them has responded. I've watched a few of them, not all of them, but they are really pushing back. Like, we're not going to take y'all's BS. We know we are here to do a job. Let's get through your circus that you want to put us so we can get to doing our job. And
Mhm.
the nice thing is that the rumors are still, and they're still strong, that each one of the candidates, all of the cabinet members, has the amount of votes that they need to be confirmed.
Mhm.
So hopefully we can get through this quickly with no hiccups. But we still have the two biggest ones coming up is RFK Jr. and then also Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, especially the Tulsi Gabbard one. That one, I believe I'm gonna watch that one from start to finish because I really
Mhm.
want to know what they're gonna grill her about. Because for those that aren't aware, they put this lady on a terrorist watch list. Like,
Disrespectful to the men and women who serve our country, and she has nothing but honorable service, especially with her military record, and then her being a representative from the state of Hawaii. Like, she is amazing. I mean, if she w- if Donald Trump wasn't running, and we'll say some unknown candidate was running for the Republican Party, and she was running for the Democrats, I probably would have voted Democrat because she is awesome. I mean, she is a classical Democrat.
So I think now, guys, I like to bet, and my dad always told me to bet, never bet unless you know you can win. I'm willing to bank that she has the shortest interrogation because that's what these things are. They're not confirmations. I bet you she's going to have the shortest because all she's going to be like is you put a sitting, you know, federal representative, federal state representative because you're at the federal level on the terrorist watch list. Okay, you're good. You're in.
well, the thing
Uh,
is like I know that these people are getting ready to gear up and like they're rah-rahing each other, like we're gonna get her, we're gonna get her. And for those that don't know Tulsi Gabbard, she is the one that absolutely destroyed the primaries back in 2019, and especially killing Kamala Harris's chances of a presidential run back then.
Mm-hmm.
Like
mhm.
this lady is so well versed in not only what her profession is and her military experience, just in relaying a message of you're stupid, but I'm gonna say it in a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
100%. And then you have RFK, and his confirmation hearing is just going to be another typical Saturday because he's appeared in front of Congress and multiple committees. This is routine for him, and though he has some vocal restrictions, the ability he has in articulating his points, especially when it's backed by mountains of evidence, especially in regards to health and fitness and
Mhm.
nutrition, like it's it's uncomparable to anybody else.
And that one is going to be one of the most interesting to me as well, because the one thing that they're talking about is the qualifications of him not being a doctor or this or that. And it's like, let's look at most doctors or medical professionals today. They're probably some of the most unhealthy, obese, just
Oh,
non-example of what health is. I
oh,
mean,
give me a second.
yeah, I was gonna say, I know you're pulling it up, Mike. Who is it? The Surgeon General, is that who that thing is?
Let's see. Where is she? Like,
Right,
that is
she
the
is
se that is
currently
the se
what?
that he is the Secretary of Health right now. He
Yeah,
is mentally ill. 1, mentally ill. 2,
facts.
is morbidly obese.
Yeah.
But they're
Mentally
supposed
ill
to be telling us
and
what health is.
morbidly obese. So morbidly obese for a male is anything above 22%. So, bless his heart, may he find Jesus Christ and come back to reality. And, so, yeah, that person needs to exit, immediately. And JFK is 70. Dude's incline benching 135 just for reps.
Wild. I mean, you can't find most regular men our age that can do that. I mean, what is it, Mike? Was it only 2% of the male population can bench 225 for reps?
If that now you have the over 20, I want to say now in 2025, you have over 25% of the youth that is obese. Obese are youth. And if you are a parent and your child is obese, that is child abuse. You need to do some self-evaluation and start
100.
cleaning out the unnecessary BS that's in your pantry.
Absolutely. And Chris here put it perfectly when it comes to doctors and the whole, we're not on a health kick, but me and Mike, when it comes to health stuff like that, I mean, even LJ knows quite a bit about health and wellness. But I mean, that's all doctors do is, push treatments and medicines just to get the bottom dollar. That's
Exactly.
all it is.
And
Mhm.
having met these two individuals in person, I could tell you I had a gym session with Nate, and he did put my ass to shame. He is very, very strong, has made incredible progress over the years. And Lumberjack, I mean, that man has
Yeah.
thighs for arms. I mean, he is a real lumberjack. He's got big mitts and just he is jacked.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's dive into the most exciting thing of today, the inauguration of Donald John Trump. What was your
Beautiful
guys'
event.
take just from just the initial take of the people, the whole situation? Go ahead, Lumberjack.
Lumberjack, you're the guest. You go first.
Man, I turned it on and I was like, I wonder. I was more aware of the people around. Like Trump was the least person I paid attention to because he's going to prince his lip and bob his head around and stick his chest out. Uh, I was very, very surprised to see the reactions of some of the people that were in the past administration, but then current until he got sworn in. Uh, it was a very solemn moment for them, and it was almost like they were swallowing a hard pill.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Especially the loser of the election. Oh, look at that sour puss. She was consistently sitting there with this face.
You know she's been
Oh
burdened by what has been.
yeah.
That's one hell of a scowl. That's a one hell of a scowl.
I watched the entire thing. This face did not change for a second.
That's one hell of a scowl.
You
Oh
God
know,
dang.
man.
I was watching it, and was it the high school band that played that event, or is it a
It was
college
like a
band?
military school of some sort, I believe.
It was an all a full African American band. You know they got a lot of hate for
Oh, you're talking about
performing.
Mississippi Valley State.
Yeah,
They did they did the parade,
yeah,
not the actual inauguration event
but
itself.
yeah, as far as that and the parade, like, they got a lot of hate. They were called sellouts, and,
Mhm.
you know, that's just sad to do to a bunch of kids like that. Like, the performance that they gave was amazing.
Right. And I mean, you're gonna try and take away something that they've been working on their entire life, right? Like you start out if you're in any kind of college band, I mean, you got some skill. I mean, that you've been doing for some time, and now you give them a stage of all stages, honestly, for that kind of musician is it's outside of becoming an independent and things like that and then into the music industry. But you're gonna take away something that these kids have been working for, these young adults have been working for their entire lives, and one of the biggest stages of all time. Like, that's just selfishness.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Absolutely
Um,
disgusting.
it
But
was wild, and, you know, big shout out to Barron Trump. It's largely due to him that Trump gained, what, 36 points in the youth?
no,
Mhm.
he won by 36 points.
A and, going on all those different podcasts, and y you could tell he's got a big future ahead of him.
Oh man, I expect him to definitely be in politics for sure. I swear Donald Trump himself is grooming that boy to do it. Yeah, like you just his demeanor today, even when he was called on, you could just tell he's got that look, and he's going to NYC. Like that boy's smart as hell.
Looks just
He,
like his
he's got
dad
that
too.
dog. He's got that dog in him.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, did you see him when
he's
he was, like, listening to the crowd?
I mean, look at this boy. Like he just looks like a future president, right? This is me. I don't know. It might be weird, but I mean, he's a 19-year-old kid, so I can say it. I mean, this is the president of the United States, probably like the let's say the 55th president. I'm gonna make that guess. So if we go back and that's correct, I'm owning that. I'm gonna clip this.
We'll be old as hell, but I
Hey,
was
man.
right.
I won't be old as hell.
Yeah, which you're ancient. Never mind. ALJ. But yeah, so and also I don't know if y'all caught this, but I did. So Trump was talking about how he was going to bring back common sense into America, right? And he
Hmm.
was just kind of expounding on that, dude. But I don't know if anybody watched Biden during that little segment, but he was just sitting there giggling like I was like, yo, nobody, and I've said this multiple times, nobody's going to tell me or convince me without showing me their actual ballot that him and Jill Biden did not vote for Donald Trump. There ain't no
Well,
way.
I'm pretty sure Jill voted for Joe. Joe is probably just giggling because he made a duty in his diaper.
Oh, God. But I mean, even, even when Trump arrived at the White House before the motorcade to the actual event, like his first reaction to him was like huge smile. And he said, "Welcome home." Like, this is a man that called the other man a threat to democracy for the last 5 years, basically. And
Hmm.
they made him out to be Hitler. They made him out to be Stalin. They said he was the puppet of Putin, all these
Oh,
other things. But all of a sudden,
Mhm.
they're buddy buddy. I'm not
um,
understanding that.
the Nazi thing, it's played out.
Yeah.
And they're still using it. CNN pushed it out today. They're trying. Elon Musk made a speech in DC, and he said, "My heart goes out to all of you," right? And they tried to say that he did a Nazi salute.
Yeah. But LJ, when it comes to that whole situation with the left, like everybody was cordial. Like, yeah, they looked like they were defeated, obviously on stage, but they were nice. They shook hands. Biden himself looked like he was happy. Honestly, to me, he's like, "Shit, I'm done." What is your thought? Like, do you think that there's like something behind this? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like you can go 4 or 5 years calling a man a threat to democracy and then all of a sudden just like, "Oh, we lost."
Okay. There's a difference between someone calling someone something of their own volition versus someone calling someone something because they're told to. This last year, we saw what Biden speak 3 times, 4 times, maybe. Um, that wasn't pre-recorded, and and I know we make a joke about it, but it's not really a joke. The man's not there. I don't think he is capable of articulating based on his own merit something like, and I'm not even talking about with a teleprompter. Like when you hear when he goes off the cuff, yeah, I got to get the hell out of here and get the football game going. And bro, we're talking about people that just died. What are you talking about? Like this terrorist attack just happened. You're talking about a football game and talking about hurrying up. So I don't think he really dislikes Trump. I think he's been made to say a lot of these things.
Yeah.
I've
You and I, LJ, even that you have some experience with the medical field. Um, I personally work with the elderly and dementia and senility, and he shows all the obvious signs. And the the left just likes to gaslight and say that he is completely competent, and it's sad. And my heart goes out to old Joe. You know, finally you can go take your nap and not have to worry about being puppeted around by the Democrat Party.
Absolutely. I mean, he's what, 82, almost 83. He'll be 83 this year. I
Yeah.
mean, we said it years ago that this man needed to just retire prior to him even running for the president. I mean, most people in Congress are that way. Well, not most, I say. Like, there's a population of around, I think it's 12 to 14% that are over the age of 65. Like, all right, it's time to hang it up.
Yeah. Um, you got people walking around with broken arms because they slightly fell. You got people rolling around with a walker because she
Well,
got
what
a hip replacement.
well, what about what is it, the House representative in Texas was in a nursing home with
Oh yeah,
dementia or something,
Don
or autism, not autism, Lord, uh, um, uh,
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's. Thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
she was gone.
Now
She
I
was
might be going
hiding
through something.
for 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, and she did she get voted in this time?
Yeah, she's still. I mean, she didn't have. She wasn't up for reelection.
Yeah, but it's just crazy. It's like you got these people that, and I'm not an advocate for getting younger people in office. I'm not, because I believe that we can learn a lot from the older ones.
Mhm.
However, when you are incapable of holding your bowels, you got incontinence, you can't walk, you can't get up from a kneel position, and you're every when she took the George Floyd knee, um, and we know we're talking about Nancy. It's time to pack it up and pack it in, especially when you become out of touch with reality with the COVID-19 thing, where she said, "Oh, they could just eat ice cream." What? You're out of touch.
all these people are out of touch. I mean, this is why the Democrats lose or are losing because they are no longer connected with the youth, the next generation, Gen Z, Gen A, and even some millennials. And they have people that they pay copious amounts of money to try to push a narrative, but it clearly doesn't work. Um, and even Republicans are that way. Republicans are solidified in Facebook, which is killing their chances at the polling booth. And Nate and I have talked about this in various spaces that if you're a Republican and you're an elected official, you need to diversify your social media presence. Get in with places that are not just Facebook, because the only people that are on Facebook are Gen X, millennials, and maybe some boomers. But the youth is not there. The youth is on YouTube. The youth is on TikTok. The youth is on Twitter or X now, and that is where you need to be. That's why,
Mhm.
I mean, Vivek's on TikTok. Donald Trump's on TikTok. Um, so that's where you're gonna make
Absolutely.
sounds.
Like I've been working with a lot of people know I've been working with the party here in my own county, and I've been explaining to the person to some of them. I'm like, you guys, you have to get past Facebook because like they told me, Facebook is where we go. This is what we do. Like I understand that, but their algorithm is absolute trash. You're
Hmm.
not going to push anything unless you're paying money for it. So you need to branch out, especially if with people that like are like us. We have all forms, right? I have a Facebook, but I use TikTok and YouTube and other platforms. What I do is me and Mike are building a platform on TikTok, so that way we can funnel people to our podcast through Facebook, through YouTube, Rumble, all the places that we're at. And that's something that Donald Trump really heard from his staff and honestly his son, who was the primary, Barron Trump, in pushing that. He also talked about the gentleman today. He's 21 years old. He runs their TikTok accounts or whatnot. Those are the individuals that are going you need to invest in and really seed for the future of the party, honestly. And a lot of them really aren't understanding that, and that's why they're getting ousted. That's why they're getting pushed out in their primaries. There's going to be a lot of Republicans that are going to come up in 2026. They're going to be pushed out in their primaries. They're not even going to make it to the final ballot.
Hmm.
I mean, that's for a lot of reasons, but one of them is just, they're getting to that age where it's like, yo, you're not with the times.
Yeah. But, back to the inauguration, Donald Trump signed some pretty important executive orders today, some big
Absolutely.
ones.
What
And
was one of them that you stuck out to you the most, Mike?
honestly, it was the mandation of federal employees going back to work, which that means a lot to me as a recipient of veteran health care. because, as you both know, I've had a hellacious time getting any type of response, especially from people who are able to work from home. And that's not a dig against all people that work from home, but if you're a federal employee, you have an obligation to the people that you represent, and majority of those representatives do happen to be veterans, and we need to prioritize those who sign that dotted line, who sign that blank check that could be cashed at a moment's notice.
Now, Mike, with your experience in the military, I'm not sure if you would know this or not right offhand, but is that executive order separate to another one that I know of, more specifically directed at veterans that were affected by the layoffs or the firings, I guess you could call them, from the military during the COVID time? I was reading that there was an executive order that he was putting out there. I don't know if he signed it yet or if it's tomorrow, where they're going to not only be reinstated, but they're actually going to get all of the money back that they missed since the time that they were fired. Are those same or are they different?
They're going to be two separate executive orders, as far as I know. And you could look at these executive orders. The first one that he signed was the rescinding of 78 executive orders from Joe Biden, and you can go on WhiteHouse.gov and look at all 78 of those that were rescinded. But the one executive order that I'm looking forward to is all the military service members that got the boot for saying no to the COVID-19 vaccine. That was huge. Um, I was in during that time. If you actually Google my name, if you have an Apple iPhone, you can Google my name, Mike or 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧, and my picture will come up getting the COVID vaccine. It was huge. I mean, we were one of the first groups of people to get it, besides the testing group observed by Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson Johnson. Um, so it was huge, and it was mandated. So if you say no to what Big Daddy government says to do in the military, um, you receive punitive, punishment. And a lot of people lost their livelihoods. There were so many military families that were just put on the back burner and punished for exercising their liberties that they themselves defend.
Absolutely. And so lumberjack. I mean, I know we've talked about a couple of them, but for those that don't know, lumberjack actually runs a very large Discord where he is very intricate in the information he puts in there. He's got a whole server just for these EOs. So, which one actually stands out the most to you, or what are you most excited about?
Really, it's going to be there's a lot of them so far, but the main one is him delivering the emergency price relief for American families. And in that EO, it talks about how the Biden administration added about $50,000 worth of cost to the American families, an average cost of $50,000 to the American families. And under his first term, Trump, relieved up to, the regulatory cost to the average American family, $11,000. So I'm excited to see people being able to spend money again, and the dollar going further,
Mhm.
actually having purchasing power, if you want me to be completely honest, because that is the crux of a society, is being able to get what you need for your, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness slash property. And if you can't get what you need, then you're going to be depressed and sad. And a depressed and sad society leads to a unjust society, because people are going to start committing crimes to take care of what they need.
We see that all over, just in California, and we see that in Phoenix. We see that in the major cities with high populations.
Hmm.
Another one which affected us three, um, especially on social media, the restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship. That's a big one, especially for us. You know, Nate's on account 72 or something like that. I'm on 86. Lumberjack,
I've had
Lumberjack, what did you get censored for today?
well, oh man. I was praying after the inauguration, where he was sworn in, and I was praying for the nation and praying for Trump and the protection of our government uh, workers. And I got banned on TikTok for hate speech and hateful behavior.
That is wild. That directly violates the First Amendment
Hmm.
directly. And, you know, just section 1 of this executive order. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution, an amendment essential to the success of our republic, enshrines the right of the American people to speak freely in a public square without government interference. And we know government interfered in all walks of life, especially social media. You had the FBI that went directly to Meta, multiple facets of social media, and said, you know, these are things that you cannot talk about, i.e., the Hunter Biden laptop, i.e., COVID-19, um, so many different forms that were just no nos and would instantly get you banned.
Well, it's the listing everything as misinformation, and we saw that Zuckerbot said that he's going to go to a peer based reporting system, which it should have been that way in the first place, but that would also take and cause the back end to have more scrutiny on what's actually being looked at and said, okay, well, this is person actually didn't say anything wrong at all. This post doesn't say what you're reporting it as. And if we can get that across all forms of social media, then the voices will stop being silenced. I mean, we were on not too long ago before the wedding, and all three of us, we were talking about something, and the live went down for misinformation. When what were we doing? Reading a news article.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You can't, even on TikTok still, you can't talk about any type of Anthony Fauci testimony. You'll be instantly got.
Oh, okay. So I don't want to take over your podcast, but I want to know both of your opinions on the preemptive pardons. You're muted, Nate. Nate, you're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I was having some difficulties with my board over here. But yeah, I was just about to segue into that because I heard Mike mention Fauci himself. I'm not understanding how that's, first of all, how that could be legally binding due to the fact that you can't. It's like thinking of a court case, for instance, right? It's like the judge saying, "Hey, we're dropping your case. You're not going to be, you're not going to serve any time." But there was no charges filed to begin with.
Hmm.
It makes no sense. So my thing is, I believe somebody or somebodies is going to challenge those because they don't make sense. So I don't see how they could be legally binding. You can't. They have to, because there's specific parameters of what a presidential pardon is. They have to meet certain criteria. They have to be a certain type of charge. They can't just willy nilly pardon anybody, right? And people that don't know that, you should probably go read about it.
I
But
have it pulled up.
there are particular, and go over them real quick so everybody knows.
So the president can grant, and this is from the justice.gov. So I'm not just pulling this out of my butt. The president can grant pardon to a person who was convicted in the United States District Court, the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, or a military court martial. A pardon is an expression of forgiveness and can help eliminate some of the consequences of a conviction. So that right there, that's the very first statement, and you can pull up the PDF to get all the criteria. But you have to apply for it years in advance. This is not something that you just say, "Hey, I need a pardon." There's an application process, and you have to meet certain criteria to be able to get it. And we have conviction, in a Supreme Court or a district court or a superior court. You have a military court martial, and you have a person that's been convicted of a federal felony. So I don't understand how you can pardon someone that hasn't done any of those things.
And to be clear, too, like, for the last several months, we've been fighting with individuals on what the term conviction even means,
Oh
right?
my goodness.
So this has two parts to it that we really need to clarify, because neither one of those parts have happened for any of those individuals. And if you want, for those that are watching, you can go to just Google this, DOJ 609, right? It'll take you to the Department of Justice website, and it'll explain to you exactly what a conviction is. You can go read it for yourself, but what it says in synapse, or in summary, is that you must be rendered a guilty verdict by a jury, right? And you have to be sentenced. It says and sentenced. That is the criteria: a verdict and a sentencing. Why is that important? It's because of the fact that a judge in a jury trial can act as the 13th juror, and they
Mhm.
can dismiss the case, or in Donald Trump's case, have it just, put through. What is the terminology that they said? LJ, you're better familiar with that.
So they used an unconditional discharge with Donald Trump,
There you
which in short, Mike would know about this because it's applicable to the military as well, is that you're discharged from all duty and all the things that took place prior to this with no conditions. In the state of New York, I think it's 65.02 under the state statute. They have a completely different definition than the legal definition of unconditional discharge found in the Black's Law Dictionary, which you can't do that because law is definite. So when you make these definitions, you can't just go and say, "Oh, well, our state recognizes a different definition." But to shorten it up, unconditional discharge is a dismissal when it comes to the context of a court case.
Essentially, like that whole thing behind Merchant giving Trump an unconditional discharge is a political showboat. It's just saying we're going to keep the narrative that you're a convicted felon, but we're not going to penalize you. We are
Mhm.
essentially washing our hands, but we're still going to be able to use the tactic and further in the future, and discrediting you as a convicted felon because we went through the entire process.
Mhm.
Right,
It's,
and to
it's
bring that back full circle to the ones that are being preemptively pardoned, is the fact that neither one of those aspects of a conviction has been rendered to them, right? They haven't even had the charges filed, like the indictment of them, right? The investigation into what they've done has not existed. It hasn't started. So
Mhm.
my question would be is, what are you afraid of?
mhm.
What are you hiding? Because people are wanting to know these questions, because we got people sitting in jail right now talking about, and we have a comment in here that puts it perfectly. Didn't Biden admin tell J6 prisoners that accepting a pardon from Trump is a confession of guilt? Which is true. That's what people were saying all over the internet, saying that if these people accept this, they're just admitting their guilt, and that's why they're getting this pardon, and so that way they can escape. Well,
Well,
what's a
the problem with
preemptive
that,
pardon then?
the problem with that whole thing with the January Sixers is it was an unlawful use of the Justice Department to put these people through a arbitrary process of judiciary proceedings without actually going through the process. There was
Mhm.
no representation. There was no actual charges of anything. What they were arrested on was not what they were convicted of.
Mhm.
Essentially, for lack of a better term, it was all political bullshit.
It was
And
weaponization of the federal government, which leads me to speak on just briefly. One of the EOs that Trump is doing is ending the weaponization of the federal government. And in this EO, he wants to correct the past woes that the federal government committed and set a precedence henceforth that the federal government can no longer do what was done.
Mm-hmm. Because if anybody knows political persecution by their own government, it's him, and it's still happening to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see 𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗪 get into the FBI and see how he operates within that and actually going and acting as a police officer. Because honestly, that's what FBI is. And that's what he said in his interviews. I'm going to tell these people to go be cops because that's what you are, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Go investigate something that is actually worth something. And I want to see how that overhaul is going to happen.
Now, like Nate and I've said before, Lumberjack said it on his podcast or his broadcast and whatnot. We're going to be super critical of this entire administration these next 4 years, and we're going to watch everything that comes out because there were a lot of promises made. There were a lot of things that were supposed to be let loose. Certain files that were supposed to be laid out for the public to see. The full disclosure of January 6th, the full disclosure of JFK, the full disclosure of 9/11.
Epstein.
Epstein's a big one. Why has no one been even charged with anything like that? There's a long list that goes on with that. There might have some, may or may not have some representatives.
And I'll play the devil's advocate for a second because Donald Trump had said it repeatedly, especially the Epstein list, right? Because everybody wants to say that, oh, he was buddy with Epstein and he was on the list because he went to the island, which there's no record of actually. But if he doesn't do it and doesn't do it quickly, then I'm going to have questions for him and be like, what is your play in that whole situation then? Because I'm not afraid to do it. I've called out Republicans all the time. People know how I feel about, Mike Johnson. I've said it millions of times. I got no problem calling out Donald Trump. So I'm going to be looking for that list right quick.
100%.
It's a must. At this point in time, it's a must. And I didn't say Musk. If there's any Democrats listening, I said it's a must with a T. That this list get released. Without any redactions. And I think it will bring a lot of eye-opening experiences to people that we once thought were on the up and up when they're not, both political and famous people.
Right. And another one of his big promises, and this I'll give him kudos. He's already putting some things into place that he promised. The climate Paris Accords and all those we're out of. That's going to save us billions, if not trillions of dollars just in that. People don't understand that. But before he was even inaugurated, El Paso, which is one of the biggest zones of crossing for illegal immigrants lately because of that whole system that they have to rapid push them through. That's one of the hubs for it. Before he was even inaugurated, and they shut that bitch down. And hey, man, he's holding promises.
If there wasn't already a nationwide want or necessity for this to happen, there is now, because I don't know if y'all have heard, but I want to say an illegal alien from Venezuela shot and killed a Border Patrol agent.
Well,
so
he did say in one, and now I'm curious as to see how he gets this to go off, because not every state has the death penalty, but he did say in a North Carolina rally, actually twice in North Carolina, he said that he is going to push for legislation that will, if they cross the border illegally, deport them. The first time, the second time, put them, if they get caught again a second time, they're put in prison in our prisons for 10 years. And if they commit a crime, like murder or rape, that they will be put to death. So I'm interested in seeing if he's able to actually get that off.
Absolutely. So, and some other ones, obviously, we want to take a look into is his whole stance on drilling, right? That's a drill, baby, drill. We heard it all. Dictator on day one when it comes to drilling. So it'll be interesting to see because a lot of people don't understand. Like when it comes to pricing, a lot of Democrats out here are critical about the leaked list of EOs because they're sitting here saying, "Oh, there's nothing in there that's going to bring down the cost of eggs." Like, yes, there is. The offshore drilling, when it comes to that, bringing refining back here to America, which is some of them as well. He'll probably sign within the next few days. He doesn't do all two because there's about 200 of them that were on his desk ready to go. Right. So in that, it's going to have to do with drilling and more importantly, refining. A lot of people don't understand refining is actually what's going to increase or decrease the cost of gas. And if you
Mhm.
don't know, everything here in America runs on gas in a report. That's where the pricing comes from. That's where it starts. The
Not
overhead for gas is astronomical.
not just that, and when it comes to drilling and refining, right? Gas and oil are connected to majority of our facets, multiple facets of life in this country because it involves the transport of all of our goods and materials, whether it be eggs, consumable goods, whether it be facial products, whether it be even lumber, um, which lumberjack uh, is pretty familiar in that area of expertise. So, you know, when you decrease the price of oil and gas, you're going to decrease the price of several other components that go alongside with that because when a company gets to reduce the cost of shipping, it's going to affect the cost of the good itself.
Mhm. That's I'm glad you brought that up because we've heard it from the left and ignoramuses time and time again. Oh, Trump said he was going to bring prices down. Ha ha ha. Now during this interview, he said he can't do it. Never said he can't. He said it was going to be hard. But then he leads into how he's going to do it by reducing the cost of energy. Like Nate said, gas. Gas and diesel are how things get to where they get in jet fuel because they fly things. Then you got to get it on a truck and you drive it. And if you can reduce the cost of those three commodities, gas, diesel, jet fuel, even by 10% or 0.5%, guess what happens? The costs of things then come down immediately.
hmm
And so I'm excited to see how he drills, baby drills.
I challenge everybody to look at the price per barrel today, and
Mhm.
then in a month or two, look at the price per barrel. Just humor me and put it in one of the comments section of our videos, and follow all of us. Nate Big for Congress on TikTok and Instagram and whatnot, and then myself on TikTok and American Lumberjack on TikTok. Write it in our comments. Tell us what you want us to talk about, and what you want us to hit, what you want us to focus on, because this is not going to be the last time that Lumberjack comes on. And also, if I may, Lumberjack starting his own podcast. If you want to plug it in,
Hey. Yeah. So just so everybody knows, just to plug our friend here, uh, th- Lumberjack is going to be starting, I believe, this Tuesday, tomorrow or
It
Wednesday.
probably Thursday
Okay.
because I got to meet up with my team, my production team. So it's going to be Thursday, and the goal is to do it once a week starting and then work my way up to the point where I'm Dan Bongino Jr.
you know, Nate and I, we always like to give support to those who have given us support because
Absolutely.
we can't grow without each other. You can't get
Agree.
anywhere by yourself. And the more connections you build, the more relationships you build, the better off you'll be. We are better as a community, and we are And that leads into the bigger principle as we are a better nation as as long as we are unified. And
Agreed.
we do that at the smallest level. And we bring beautiful, intelligent minds like Lumberjack, you know, to give us his opinions because there may be certain facets that are different from our opinions. Nate and I don't agree on everything. Lumberjack and all of us don't agree on everything. There's a lot of similarities in what we'd agree with, but the most important part is we're giving back to those who helped us. We wouldn't have been able to get as far as we can without Lumberjack and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
And
100%.
Lumberjack, for those he okay, he already put it in the comments here for us. So is I believe he's going to be on all platforms. So please go follow Timber Talk, navigating the political forest. Man, that just sounds so intriguing. I'm going to be definitely tuning in. Y'all tune in with him. Go follow him on all the platforms.
Thank you, guys. I
100%.
appreciate it.
100%.
Absolutely. But I do know that Donald Trump does not sleep. This man is a machine. He is no regular 78-year-old man. So just since we've started, he's pushed out 3 more. Just to talk about them real quick, Trump has officially signed an executive order to pardon approximately 1,500 January 6th prisoners. We were just talking about this. So that is done and in the books. How do you guys feel about that right off the bat?
Beautiful.
Promises made, promises kept.
Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Like 100%. I mean, like I already said at length, these people are put through an arbitrary process for political showmanship just to push a narrative that was completely false. And because of that narrative, lives were crushed, lives were destroyed, reputation was destroyed, businesses were destroyed. And that doesn't just go along with the January 6ers. That goes along with the whole COVID narrative. Lives were destroyed, lives were crushed, families were destroyed. And this was a direct result of the Biden-Harris administration. And now we are seeing the correction of it, just like he had said.
Now, you two might be a little bit more versed in the, legal aspect of this, but now that they've been pardoned, right? Is there any, avenue that they can take for repercussion for themselves,
They they
damages?
they could do so. What they could do is they could band together and pursue a class action lawsuit against the federal government for restitutions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
And it'll be a
big chunk of
lot of
change.
money.
A lot of money.
A lot of
I mean,
money.
the the physical, emotional, and financial damage that was received by them as a result of the Biden-Harris administration is inconceivable. I
Mhm.
mean, like the amount of emotional trauma, the amount like
I mean,
I
there was
can't.
there was prisoners that I was there was interviews about them. They were in prison for a year before they even knew what they were being charged with. They
Which
hadn't
is
seen it inside of a
unconstitutional.
court, nothing.
Unconstitutional. That
It's it
violates four constitutional amendments.
Mhm.
yeah, wild stuff. So that definitely keep track of that, guys. Everybody watching, that's going to be an interesting development. But these next 2 are even just as more interesting. There was a lot of talk about birthrights here and how individuals actually gained a birthright citizenship. Well, Trump signed an executive order clarifying birthright citizenship for children of illegal immigrants. Now, there were some rumors about this in regards to saying that it wasn't going to allow them to automatically obtain, you know, a citizenship here in America just because they were born here. So I know this was a hugely controversial thing on social media and just really across all forms of communication. What are your guys' thoughts directly? Because we know that Donald Trump, basically, with this executive order, I haven't read the details on it, but from what we know about it, he's eliminating them receiving the automatic birthright citizenship just because they were born here.
Yeah, 100. I don't agree with birthright citizenship. Just because you happen to be pregnant and you walk across the border and poop out a baby, that doesn't make you a citizen. That doesn't make that baby a citizen. You have to go through the naturalization process that so many legal immigrants pay tens of thousands of dollars, and to go through that. And just because you cut the line, you just automatically get this? No, absolutely not. You get deported
Mhm.
with your family.
Well, the thing about it is, a lot of people don't not understand. It's like, well, that baby didn't have any choice. Yeah, I understand that aspect of it, but just because you're born here doesn't mean you're a U.S. citizen. Especially if your parents aren't U.S. citizens, and the reason being is because it actually makes it easier for their parents to obtain citizenship because they're using you as what we like to call as a nickname, an anchor baby.
Mhm.
So
100%.
essentially, for everybody that knows that terminology, this executive order, which hopefully will go to legislation and become an actual law, uh, it'll remove that whole scenario of anchor baby.
Mhm.
I think
Which,
it's gonna be
oh
interesting because there's gonna have to be some it's gonna go to the Supreme Court. 100% it's gonna go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to balance how this is gonna conflict with the 14th Amendment.
mm.
And, Frankie and I have gone over and over and over again about the 14th Amendment and, the, uh, the falsities that are encompassed within. So, it's gonna be interesting. Go ahead, Nate.
And then you have to really ask yourself, is it going to be retroactive or is it going to be here forward? Because now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but Kamala Harris's parents were not U.S. citizens when she was born here, right?
Exactly.
No, her father was here on a work visa, and her mother was here on an educational visa, I believe, from India, father from Jamaica, and then they, met in California.
But I believe her father became a citizen within the last decade, or
Yeah, I mean,
so.
they're both
'Cause
citizens now, but it
well,
just
the
makes me.
mama dead, so
Yeah.
she's a
She
citizen
did
of the dirt.
obtain her citizenship, but
Yeah, she
I mean,
did.
it just becomes an interesting conversation, especially in debates on TikTok, and you can have fun with this one, LJ. It's like, if they go retroactive, is Kamala Harris a U.S. citizen?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
That's
I'm
that, and I've been saying that for a while, that she was indeed not, based off of the and I think we need this, even if we don't get our way in this, it will give a definition to what as the 14th Amendment is used in this as to what a naturalized citizen is.
Mhm.
And we need these definitions to be concrete,
Mhm.
so that we can move forward in the future and not have to deal with this ambiguity that we've been facing. So I'm excited to see what comes of this, and if we do get our way, nah, 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 she's got to go. Down with the hoe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and,
saw this comment as well.
yeah, so
So,
Julie asked a really good comment. Go ahead, Mike.
yeah, Julie asked, "What happens with the current children who have spent their lives here and the parents are not citizens?" Um, you know, I'm against, child separation, so they can go with their parents back to which they came.
Mhm.
So now this is where the gray and really the tricky area, because it kind of goes along with what we were just talking about. But in aspect, I think Julie's referring to dreamers, right? So
Mhm.
in that, Donald Trump has actually said through a couple of his rallies that he actually has a promise to work with the dreamers, because they are, I have a different take on it probably than Mike, but I
Mhm.
do believe that they were brought here, or they were born here, and they don't know anything else, right? So dropping them off into a country they've probably never been to, don't even. I know some of them don't even speak the language. It'd be a little
So,
difficult.
I'll make a caveat, right? I'll make a caveat. The Democrats are all about, the migrants here, the illegal aliens here. They're already here. If the Democrats cared so much about these people, you would think that they would have implemented an expedited naturalization process that coincided with these individuals that were actually productive members of society that paid taxes, that did their best to assimilate, even though they were essentially illegal.
Mhm.
I do believe that's going to go along the same lines that Trump is going to do. He's going to essentially, hopefully, do an expedited naturalization uh, formula that allows these people to become United States citizens because they are productive members of society. Even J.D. Vance talked about this at the debate. When it comes to the illegal immigrants, They are focusing on the criminality aspect.
Mhm.
So those that are actually committing crimes in addition to the illegal entry,
Well,
which is the main
it
area we need to focus on.
if I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be wrong on this, wasn't there talk of if they graduated from university here that they would automatically receive citizenship?
Yes, that was part
Yes.
of the conversation that Donald Trump was having with the Dreamer. So that's why I now this is a disclaimer. We're not saying that this is going to happen, that's going to happen. We're just causing a certain formulated questions to create conversation for you guys because there's a lot of moving parts to this, especially with this particular piece of well, not legislation, but executive order that could become legislation and how they approach it, especially the Trump administration and the legislature itself, what they're
Mhm.
going to do. So it's
Yeah.
one of those things. They could, I mean, we could give our thoughts on it, but we really don't know what's going to happen until we see it play out.
And they've already made a little headway today, just in the Senate with the Lake and Riley Act. It was passed in the Senate 64-35. I'm really interested to see which 35, they're Democrat senators voted no, because it's always the Democrats that vote no against America's interests. And, you
You
know,
can add you can add 159 in the House that
mhm.
voted against it prior to the 35 in the Senate.
I think,
Yeah.
I think if you're a representative and you are directly voting against the national security of your own nation, I think you should be penalized.
Agreed. Agreed. I'm more interested in seeing who didn't vote, who the person was that didn't vote
I
in
think
the
if you don't
Senate.
vote, you should be fired.
Sure. Yeah.
Agreed. Unless the only
You're
only
there for a
caveat
job.
I would give or leniency I would give is if you're sick.
They got
Yeah.
Zoom.
No, when I mean sick, I mean like you're hooked up to a breathing tube and like sick.
Yeah.
You better vote on Morse code.
Beep 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 beep.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, like I I as an American taxpayer voted you in, or you got voted in to voice my interests, the interests of your representatives. And by you not voting, why are you there? What are you doing except sucking down oxygen?
Right. Mhm. And taking a look here, just last two things that we want to look at. We can talk about these kind of simultaneously because they're not. One of them I think is pretty interesting in the fact I would love to hear what you guys have to think of what the ramifications of it is. Donald Trump has officially withdrawn the U.S. from the World Health Organization.
Big move.
Wow. Wow.
Huge move.
Thank
Is
thank
this
you.
are these coming in now? These EOs coming
Yes,
in now?
that was 33 minutes ago to be exact.
Jesus Christ, he's an animal.
You
If you guys
you
like
know
that one, so like it. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
before he became president elect, he was up for 72 hours.
Yep.
Oh
Whew.
wait, for 72 hours. And then, he got elected. That man runs.
Jesus Christ.
I think he's a robot.
He made Martin Luther King Day a federal holiday. Jesus.
Like,
Yep.
but
Well, and
but the
another
World
one
Health
that
Organization, the World Health Organization, that's a big deal. Like that is a corrupt bureaucratic pile of trash. That's what that is.
so they're just coming in now rapidly. Just want to wrap these up real quick though. Donald Trump has promise kept, promise made, promise kept. Donald Trump has ordered the halt on foreign aid for 90 days to reevaluate how that will be put out in the future.
Yo, he's got 5 pages. When we first started this earlier, there's only 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 5 pages of
I
his
told you. I
of his
told you at the
executive
Yes.
beginning of
orders.
this. He has about
But
two.
that foreign aid that you just mentioned,
Mhm.
that's a big deal because I was just reading earlier on X that with the Ukraine Russia thing, Vladimir Putin is very excited to have talks of peace and suspending any type of progression towards World War III with President Donald Trump.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And the last one here to wrap up. This is a good one. I like this one. President Trump has ordered the death penalty to be pursued in all cases involving murder of a law enforcement officer or a capital crime committed by an illegal alien.
There we go. There we go. We just talked about that.
Beautiful.
Just came out a few seconds ago, actually. So,
Lord, we're going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be 10 pages.
Like I said, the rumor was he had at least 200 already ready to go signed. So it's going to be a hot few days here, guys. So
yes, sir.
next Monday, 7:00 Eastern time, or I'm sorry, 7:00 Central time, we're going to have a whole litany of things to talk about, I'm assuming. But also, just for those that weren't here previously, Mike and I are making some pretty big moves here. We're actually going to be starting on February 8th is what our aim date is, to work with Radio 𝗪𝗡𝗥 99.5 here in Houston, where we're actually going to be on the radio along with being a part of a TV show with them as the Legislative Lounge. So definitely look out for us on that. Follow Radio 𝗪𝗪𝗡𝗧 99.5 on Facebook, TikTok, all that. So keep a lookout for that. This is going to be really exciting because we do have people that are actually going to line up legitimate people in Congress, or in state and things of that nature. Like this weekend, I'm actually going to be hosting the Chris Heasley show, which is where we got this connection. I'll be interviewing individuals like Angela Collins she's going to be running for the Fort Bend ISD school board, along with Carol McLaughlin, who is a individual that's running for mayor of Sugar Land, Texas. And so we're going to have a lot of different, and as we grow, we'll get bigger candidates or individuals. Maybe we can get Donald Trump one day. But either way, stay tuned with that. Tune in on Monday at 7:00 as well. We want to thank Lumberjack for coming and joining us again. You're always a great friend. Again, go follow his podcast, Timber Talks. When that comes out, he's going to be launching on Thursday, more than likely. Go follow him on all platforms.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been a lovely, lovely time. And be sure to follow myself and Natebige on all forms of social media, and especially our podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, and Twitch, as well as our individuals. And remember to follow American Lumberjack on TikTok, so you can interact with him on his broadcast, especially when he goes on to Timber Talk. And I'm sure there'll be a time when we may even show up on there.
Oh, most definitely.
So we love you. Thank you for tuning in to the greatest podcast in America. And until next time, God bless.